Leadership has a lot of different faces. It means many different things to people. Here's Angela Kokott with an intimate look at today's leaders. Brought to you by Get Assist on News Talk 770.
He's probably more recognizable than the multi-million-dollar athletes he represents. From the humble beginnings in a small Saskatchewan town, he was drawn to the newspaper business where he rose to the prominent position of publisher for some key Western Canadian papers. He landed his dream job when he was hired by the Calgary Flames. I am pleased to welcome Ken King, President and CEO of the Calgary Sports and Entertainment Corporation, to today's leaders. Hello, Ken.
Hi, Angela. It's wonderful to be here. Actually, it's wonderful to be anywhere, but
yeah, you're right.
Particularly with you and particularly here.
See, you're such a smooth talker. This is why I worry about Calgary next. But we will eventually talk about Calgary next. But I think you've been talking about that a lot lately.
You know what? We've talked about that for months.
Let's
take a break and have some fun.
Yeah, let's talk about you. So, what kind of a kid was Ken King?
Very, very thoughtful, intelligent.
Yeah, I'm not believing any of that.
You know what? I probably pretty typical. We got in as much trouble as we could get. I mean, as you aged through, as little kids, we just played. I mean, that's all we did. We literally ran from one end of the town to the other. We hid on each other. We shot at each other. We had all the fun.
At each other,
as we got older, we had a rink. All those towns, everybody thinks those Saskatchewan towns were outdoor rinks. Well, it was too cold for that.
Was there someone there that you said, I admire the way you are as a person?
Well, I'll tell you what, it sounds corny, but I always say I was raised by 4 women. Sometimes I say 5 because I include my assistant Judy now, but my mom and my wife and my 2 daughters, and we were married very young, in our late teens, and we've been married for 43 years. It's been wonderful, but we really grew up together, and at home, my mom and those older sisters, there was the 3 older sisters and the 3 older brothers, they were everything I ever dreamt that I wanted to be. I just thought they were very special people. I went to Prince George. Actually, I was supposed to go to law school, and I walked past the front doors, and that's as close as I got. I went to Prince George. I had a brother there, and that usually happens. And my first job was a disaster. We'd lied to each other on the train to Prince George that we were going to make lots of money building Quonset huts for logging camps.
You and your brother lied to each other?
No. Some strangers that I had met. Just some random
lie to
people.
Anyone.
And we went up to the logging camp, and we had lied and said each one of us told each other that we knew how to do it. None of us knew how to do it. Yeah. So they watched us for about 3 days, and they were not happy. They had equipment they needed to put in there, so they ran us off. I then got an interview at the Prince George Citizen, which was the daily newspaper, great newspaper, and I was asked, after having this horrible earlier experience, they said, "So what makes you think, young man, that you're qualified to be here?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "I don't know anything about it." I flipped the switch to
being totally honest.
Being completely honest, and I don't know if that helped or not, but I began there as a advertising sales trainee, and it was the beginning of a long 30-year love affair in a great business.
As much as I think of you as Calgary Sun, Calgary Herald, you actually were at the Herald earlier than that. You went from Prince George to Calgary?
In the mid-'70s, actually. It was great. Now, I've only ever worked for 3 companies, and I have been so blessed to work for awesome people. My accomplishments pale dramatically. I was an understudy to some of the greatest leaders of all time. I rode up the elevator with the then publisher Frank Swanson. His son actually is the architect on our project, by pure coincidence. And I thought, well, that's a cool job. I'd like to be the publisher of the Calgary Herald. And I said that to the HR VP. He said, "Ken, don't kid yourself. People like you are never going to be the publisher of the Calgary Herald." So it was kind of fun 20 years later. And I saw him, actually.
Oh, you didn't say, I did become it.
No, I didn't. I said, I thought you were right, too. It was a challenge. And of course, I think you're probably aware of the ultimate challenge there. Not the ultimate challenge, but we
formed a union.
Business was easy. The business part was easy. The newsroom was more difficult. I consider it one of my great failings that, not that they joined a union. If they want to join the union, that's entirely their privilege, but that they felt that they needed to or had to. I was saddened by that. I really liked those people. I frankly don't think they liked me very much, but
Well, you came and you made some changes, and obviously a publisher wants to put their mark on it, but there was criticism that suddenly the paper that was maybe seen more as moderately liberal, you started to have partnerships and marketing partnerships with corporations and businesses. I mean, some former reporters would say that we basically had an edict that we had to become civic boosters.
Yeah, I thought that would be the most critical way to describe it, and people did. Yeah. Some people did describe it that way. I thought the paper could have been more fair, and they almost ultimately ridiculed it. But fairness, accuracy, and balance was what we sought. It wasn't conservative or liberal or left or right. It was a good newspaper that had, I think, lost a little bit of its focus in the market. I think it was a little out of tune with the market, and sometimes that's good. Yeah. I think they were very good people. I was just really disappointed we couldn't kind of all center around it.
Ken King has been described as a hard worker, and I guess that's not an insult, but expecting that same drive from everyone around him.
Yeah, I you know what, the old cliches, don't ask anybody to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself. Don't do be there first. Mm-hmm. Do work the hardest and try and set an example. I guess in sports teams that seems to be acceptable. And I think it's good in business too, but I think you can push too hard. I think you can drive too much, and I think you need to have a governor in there a little bit that says, hey, it's time to push back. If, again, I'm happy with whatever my legacy turns out to be, I'm okay with it. We've always tried to improve the business environment in any businesses that we're involved in, and it's not about me, for sure. I probably pushed some people further and harder than I necessarily should have or could have, and my guess is that happens.
Was it 2000 or 2001 then that you are hired by the Flames?
2001.
2001. You've been with them for 15
years.
15
yeah,
years.
It's been a whirlwind. It has gone by so quickly, and it's been exciting. We have perishable inventory, but we also have a sort of a perishable product. We hit that 160-day, 180-day season window. And the games in the beginning, in the NHL, of course, there's 82 games. It seems like a very, very long distance, and now we're looking down the pipe at just a few games left.
Calgary next. There we go. I've got a few minutes left. Back in August, when you had the big news conference, it wasn't as if the entire city was on board with this, and I'm one of the critics as well. So,
I didn't know that.
You know what? I am one of the critics. Good thing I told you this
goodbye.
now with
Goodbye.
3 months. That's right. You know what? I guess I'm not crazy about the location or the cost of who's going to pay for the creosote. This isn't my talk show. This is Ken King. So, does it have to go there? Is this the only place? And does the city have to pay for a lot of it? As in the building.
The city isn't paying for a lot of it.
The building? Isn't the city going to own that building?
The city's going to own the building, first off. Our ownership group, bless their hearts, are putting in $450 million. There's $200 million that will be from the city, and that's genuine city money, but it is money that would be awarded to the field house, which is going to be built anyway, so we don't consider that incremental money, and no one would if you looked at the deep in the financing side. And then a CRL, which is basically a provision of future property taxes that will be generated because we're there. If we're not there, they won't be generated. So there's no real net loss. Although your view is not dissimilar to others who think, and I think it's been a bit distorted. Whenever we talk, and we've talked to thousands of people, and we show it to them, and I play the part of the protagonist and the antagonist. Okay. I say, look, if I were trying to criticize this, if I were trying to tear it apart, these are the areas that I would be critical of. But it stands the test. That's a blighted piece of economically sterile property.
Because it's expensive to clean it up.
It's going to be dealt with.
I know it's going to be, but maybe we should go to another piece of property that the taxpayers aren't going to have to pay for.
But why don't taxpayers aren't going to pay to clean it up? No. I think it's going to be cleaned up partly by the polluter and
it's going to be a tough one. But anyway, continue.
But I think it's a gift to put it there and have that cleaned up. Have that connection of our downtown city and make it vital and just complete what's happening down there. It is a very, very bold vision, no question about that. If you and everybody else got on board and said, okay, let's do this, there's still some deal breakers there. There's some deal breakers for us that would have to be overcome. We just really want an opportunity to get to the next starting line, and let's try. Nothing good is easy. I think it's a hallmark of our city that we try to do bold things, and this is bold for sure. And I think it would be a wonderful addition to the city. Now, we've been asked about Plan B, and I was asked if would we entertain it. Of course we would entertain it. I think it's very reasonable to have. I didn't want to offer a Plan B because I didn't want it to compete with Plan A.
Right.
But others have now talked more seriously about an alternative, and I said, let's put it right beside what we're doing here. Let's evaluate them both. We have to have an open mind about Plan B because we've asked everybody else to have an open mind about Plan A.